The movie begins with two government agents conducting research at the base of Mount Lincoln. When they detect strange underground activity, one of the agents tries to contact headquarters to report it. Suddenly, a violent earthquake strikes, and gas begins to erupt from deep beneath the earth, leaving deep scars on the female agent's face. Seeing that her partner is dead, the remaining agent tries to flee the scene, but is crushed to death by a giant boulder. However, just before dying, he drops his briefcase, which rolls off and comes to rest near the edge of the cliff. In another part of the forest, Thomas and his logging crew also feel tremors in the ground. A strong jolt causes a tree branch to fall, trapping one worker's leg. At first, the team is relieved, thinking they'll easily free the man. But within seconds, he stops breathing. Now scene shift in a research lab. A seismologist named Emily is deeply concerned about the frequent earthquakes hitting the town. Satellite images show tectonic plate movement under Mount Lincoln, raising the possibility of a volcanic eruption. To study the danger more closely and warn the townspeople, she decides to climb the mountain. On the other hand, Thomas returns to his father William's house. It is revealed that William was once a respected professor, but is now seen as mentally unstable. Back when he was a professor, William had claimed that a massive ancient creature, behemoth, was hidden inside the mountain. Because of these beliefs, he was expelled from his college. Thomas is skeptical of his father's bizarre research, but still urges him to take his medication. However, William is unfazed by his son's concern. Thomas has a cheerful younger sister named Grace, who is quite stressed about her relationship with her boyfriend, Gerard. Despite her older brother's warnings, Grace is planning a romantic hike on Mount Lincoln. Meanwhile, another government agent named Jack Murray comes to the town to investigate the missing persons. Suddenly, another earthquake strikes, and he is forced to step out of his car. At that moment, he sees a lot of gas erupting from the ground. On the other side, Thomas takes his father William to a restaurant, where guests are warmly welcomed by a friendly waitress named Zoe. When the old man steps outside to retrieve his notes, Zoe tells Thomas that lately his father has started mumbling and mixing up words during conversations. Concerned about his father's health, Thomas leaves the restaurant feeling disappointed. Outside, he meets his old friend, the seismologist Emily, who tells him that she has come to the town to investigate the increasing number of earthquakes. Emily invites Thomas to dinner, but he politely declines and walks away. Back inside, Zoe sits at the table with William and asks about some old photos from his past. William tells her a story about an ancient defense system that lies deep beneath the earth. According to him, whenever mankind pushes the planet to the brink of destruction through greed and technology, unknown powers emerge to protect the earth. But Zoe laughs off the story, thinking it's just a myth. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake. An earthquake hits the area. William looks intently at one of his old photographs, now fully convinced that something terrifying is truly about to happen. At that moment, a local man notices smoke coming from his car. As he approaches it, gas suddenly starts erupting from the ground. Panicked, he tries to run, but the ground beneath his feet begins to collapse, and he falls into a deep pit. Soon after, his entire house sinks into the earth. The next day, Emily climbs Mount Lincoln, where she records seismic activity readings. It now becomes highly likely that the long-dormant volcano is about to erupt. To prevent potential damage from the natural disaster, Emily contacts a colleague to arrange the necessary equipment. Suddenly, she notices the lifeless bodies of squirrels lying near her feet. She informs her colleague, who then gives a deeply troubling suggestion. Meanwhile, Thomas and a local police officer arrive at the site to investigate the recent incidents. Suddenly, the officer's dog collapses onto the ground, whimpering in pain. Seeing this, Emily drives over to them and urgently tells them to move the dog away from the soil. She explains that the earthquakes on the mountain are releasing toxic gases into the atmosphere. Now Thomas also suspects that something similar might have happened to his colleague. Emily warns the local police that the volcano is awakening again and insists that the people must be evacuated from the town immediately. However, the officer says that 30 years ago, people were also frightened by tremors underground, but nothing ever happened then. He tries to avoid panic among the population and temporarily restricts access to the mountain. Meanwhile, William hears a global disaster report and tells his daughter that the Earth is on a path to self-destruction, and something significant is about to occur, something that could prevent Earth from destroying itself. The wise old man urges everyone to prepare for the coming disaster. According to the story, this strange and massive creature can only be killed by shooting directly into its fire-breathing mouth. However, Grace still dismisses her father's story as the ranting of a madman and leaves home to meet Gerard. Back in town, Emily shows Thomas the latest satellite images, which seem to indicate that the Earth is shifting upward toward the mountain. Emily now believes that some unknown force inside Mount Lincoln is destroying everything in its path and is creating a way for toxic gas and lava to erupt from the Earth. To discover the cause of this force, Emily sets out to climb the mountain once again. Meanwhile, Thomas encounters Agent Jack Murray, who introduces himself as geoscientist. Jack tells Thomas that he was sent by the government to recover valuable equipment lost during a previous mountain tour. Actually, Thomas was used to work as a helicopter pilot in the military, so he agreed to guide Jack to the top of mountain. Meanwhile, Grace and her boyfriend set off on a trip. Though Grace remains worried about her father's strange behavior, Gerard reassures her that they can distract themselves from mountain nonsense. Neither of them realizes just how wrong they are. Emily climbs further up the mountain and tries to contact a colleague to relay new findings. In response, the colleague gives her disturbing information about global disasters happening across the planet. Suddenly, a new earthquake strikes, cutting off communication completely. A section of Mount Lincoln collapses, sending giant boulders crashing down. Meanwhile, William, who believes that a mysterious force threatening the Earth has awakened, tries to share this knowledge with local police. But the officer thinks he has lost his mind and warns that if he doesn't get mental health treatment, he might have to be institutionalized. Disheartened and rejected, William walks away, realizing no one believes him. Back on the mountain, Thomas and Jack continue their climb. Jack warns Thomas not to bend too low to the ground, due to the presence of poisonous gas. Soon they come across some equipment left behind during the previous expedition. Now, Thomas starts to question who Jack Murray really is and what his true purpose might be. Jack tells Thomas that his fellow agents have already gone missing in the area. He shows Thomas some coordinates and explains that his mission is to study the reason behind all this tremblings in Mount Lincoln. While searching through the debris, they come across the dead body of Agent Catherine Vicks. Seeing this, Thomas grows even more anxious. Just then, Emily, who miraculously survived the mountain collapse, comes running toward them. She tells them that they must return to the town immediately and warn the people of the danger. But despite the risk, Jack plans to climb further up the mountain. Thomas refuses to go with him. However, he does show Jack the correct path. By evening, Grace and Gerard have set up their tent at the base of the mountain. Gerard appears nervous and mumbles a few uncertain words. Then, he kneels in front of Grace and proposes to her. Grace smiles with joy, but her smile quickly fades into fear when she notices a large crack forming in the mountain behind Gerard, and from it, a giant eye is staring right at them. Within seconds, a monstrous creature attacks them, and both of them run for their lives. Meanwhile, Emily and Thomas return to town and urge the local police to begin an immediate evacuation. But the officers are still skeptical. Emily insists that the threat is real, and that time is running out. At last, the police agree to alert the public. During this, Jack Murray contacts headquarters and reports that he successfully recovered a flash drive containing recordings from the previous experiment. They also learn that the monstrous creature's central origin is deep inside Mount Lincoln. Time is ticking fast, and humanity is on the verge of witnessing an unprecedented catastrophe. Meanwhile, Grace and Gerard hide in the forest, trying to escape the monster. Suddenly, clouds of smoke and toxic gas erupt from the ground, and Gerard realizes this is the awakening of an ancient being. Terrifying sounds echo all around, and Grace runs in panic. Once again, the ground beneath their feet begins to shake. By morning, the police alert the population about the danger and instruct everyone to evacuate to a location 20 miles away from the town. Meanwhile, William informs his son Thomas that Grace has gone to the mountains and is unaware of the imminent threat. Thomas tells his father to head to the nearby town and wait for him there. Before leaving, the old man gives his son a sacred bracelet, believed to offer protection. Emily and Thomas then head toward the mountain, while William stops near the restaurant to escort Zoe to safety. On their way, Emily and Thomas encounter Jack, who is injured from the mountain climb. They urge him to return to town and assist with the evacuation, but Jack is focused on recovering a special suitcase that holds weapons or tools to fight the apocalyptic force. Suddenly, a massive earthquake strikes the town. William urges Zoe to hurry, but she refuses to abandon the restaurant. The building collapses, trapping several people inside. On the other side, Emily insists Jack to reveal the true purpose of his mission. Jack explains that 6 months ago, intelligence agencies across the world detected strange underground activity at 18 different locations simultaneously. To investigate this mysterious phenomenon, the government launched an expedition to Mount Lincoln. They believe that a similar event occurred 30,000 years ago, then again after 15,000 years, and now it is happening for the third time. Jack's lost suitcase is the only way to combat the ancient creature. Just then, a gigantic hand bursts out of the mountain and strikes Jack with tremendous force. Emily and Thomas are left in shock and rush to the fallen agent, who is bleeding profusely with red fluid spilling from his body. In his final breaths, Jack tells them, "Get the suitcase, it's our only chance." Meanwhile, William and Zoe regain consciousness and are completely terrified by what they witness around them. Heavy rain begins to pour over the mountains. Emily and Thomas finally find the suitcase at the coordinates, but it's perched dangerously close to the edge of a cliff. Emily tries to convince Thomas that it's a waste of time. They should focus on finding Grace and escaping the city as fast as possible. But Thomas believes they must try to save the world from this creature. He climbs down into the ravine and throws the suitcase up to Emily. Emily accidentally drops it, and the suitcase tumbles further down the slope. Meanwhile, William and Zoe are inside a cafe, trying to block the windows and doors to prevent toxic gas from entering. However, Zoe inhales the poisonous fumes and nearly loses consciousness. William tells her to stay low and away from the openings, as he looks for a way out through the back. Fortunately, Thomas manages to recover the suitcase in time and hands it over to Emily. As he climbs back up, his foot slips and he loses balance, but the bracelet his father gave him catches on a tree root and saves him from falling. Elsewhere, Grace and Gerard are trying to find a safe route through the forest, but a powerful underground tremor pushes them toward the edge of a cliff. Suddenly, the jaws of the creature burst open beneath them, and Gerard falls straight into it. Grace is about to fall too, but Thomas and Emily arrive just in time to save her. When Grace recovers from the shock, Thomas explains the next step. They must head to a ranger camp located at the base of the mountain. This site is used as an emergency landing zone, where a helicopter might be available for evacuation. Meanwhile, inside the restaurant, William reveals the truth. The monstrous being is called Behemoth, a creature that returns to Earth every 15,000 years. When humanity is on the brink of collapse, it brings destruction, only to restart life from chaos. William then looks for a ladder to escape through a window. They place a ladder and the old man climbs up successfully. Down below, the creature has fully awakened, and its violent surge causes a massive earthquake. This causes Zoe to fall from the ladder and lose consciousness. William rushes to her, brings her back to consciousness, but when he tries to stand up himself, he collapses, barely able to stand. He steadies himself as Zoe thanks him for his help. At last, both of them reach the top of the ranger camp. Meanwhile, the trio comes face to face with the furious behemoth in the mountains. Barely escaping its claws and massive jaws, they somehow manage to reach the helicopter and successfully start it. Thomas retrieves a special weapon from the suitcase and tries to figure out where to hit the monster for maximum impact. That's when Grace remembers her father's story. The only way to kill the beast is to fire directly into its mouth. She screams to her brother, "Shoot into its mouth." Thomas does just that. He launches the missile straight into Behemoth's open jaws, and the explosive hits deep inside, tearing the creature apart from within. At last, as the monster explodes in a massive blast, the three manage to escape by helicopter just in time. In the final scene, the 5 remaining survivors reunite safely, embracing each other with relief and joy. Do you think creatures like this could really exist beneath the Earth's surface? Then hit that like button. Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to your favorite channel, Witty Recap.